Good morning. This is Wednesday, October 1st. In the news this morning, Israel releases a militant leader from jail, but won't let him go back home. Progress in the Cold War, an advance that could lead to a cure. And a come-from-behind victory for the defending champs on the first day of baseball playoffs.
From ABC, this is World News This Morning. Here's Asha Blake.
Good morning and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday. We appreciate your time. There is a new development in the Middle East to tell you about as Israel and the Palestinians struggle to keep the peace process from falling apart. Today, Israel released a leader of the radical group Hamas from prison, citing his poor health. Now, it may seem like a humanitarian gesture, but like most events in the region, there's more than one way of looking at it. Here's ABC's Clay Scott.
Sheikh Ahmad Yassin was taken in the middle of the night from the Israeli prison cell he occupied for 8 years.
In Paris, previous test results found evidence of alcohol and prescription drugs in Henri Paul, the driver killed in the Princess Diana crash. Well, now new tests show how long those substances were in his system. ABC's Lucretia Quinn has that story.
New laboratory tests ordered by French authorities.
In other news, U.S. Catholic bishops say it is more important for parents of homosexual offspring to support their children than to follow church doctrine. In a pastoral letter, the bishops say homosexual behavior is not something that is freely chosen and that a homosexual orientation cannot be considered sinful, for morality presumes the freedom to choose. It also says parents should not reject their gay children, but look at the situation as another gift, your family becoming more honest, respectful, and supportive. Now to the Oklahoma City bombing trial of Terry Nichols and the process of whittling down a pool of 500 potential jurors to a panel of 12 plus 6 alternates. ABC's Steve Saunders on how yesterday went.
How does your son look?
Good.
The Whitewater investigation is fast becoming one of the most expensive independent counsel probes in history. An audit shows independent counsel Kenneth Starr has spent about $30 million so far looking into President and Mrs. Clinton's Arkansas investments and other allegations of possible wrongdoing. Well, the record is $40 million spent investigating the Iran-Contra affair. Officials in Reno, Nevada are investigating the cause of a fire at one of the city's casinos. The fire broke out last night, forcing the evacuation of dozens of guests. Well, as you can see, winds fanned the flames, which caused extensive damage to the casino's exterior. Luckily, no injuries were reported. Right now, it's time to take a look at your weather forecast for this first day of October. It will be a stormy day in the northwest, torrential rain and gale force winds expected there. Look for scattered showers in the northern Rockies and parts of Texas and Florida. As for temperatures, it will be cooler than normal around the Great Lakes and in the Northeast, but warm in the Central Plains and the Northern Rockies. That's the national outlook. Now let's take a look at the weather where you are. And welcome back. In economic news, a solid gold deal for some silver screens. ABC's Juju Chang has that and the rest of the morning business report.
Good morning. A big deal for lots of big screens.
A new expanded TV rating system takes effect today. Viewers will see a V if a program contains violence, an S for sex, an L for language that could be viewed as offensive, and a D for suggestive dialogue. The new ratings will appear alongside current age-based ratings. All major networks except NBC are going along with this new ratings plan. Okay. For continuous coverage of the news, check out the ABC News website at abcnews.com. Look for it on the World Wide Web or through America Online. More news coming up. You're watching ABC's World News This Morning.
This morning's business report brought to you by Gateway 2000. It's almost 13 after. The shofar is a ram's horn trumpet, which sounds the start of the 10 days of penitence.
And thank you very much, Barbara. A $20,000 baby grand piano seized from the home of O.J. Simpson must be returned. A judge in Santa Monica yesterday agreed with Simpson's mother, Eunice, who testified that the piano actually belonged to her. The piano was seized in August to help satisfy a $33 million civil judgment against Simpson. And if Mrs. Simpson ever needs someone to play that piano, she can call on one unique individual who has the ability well beyond his years. ABC's Nathan Thomas has the story from London. And coming up on Good Morning America, in the series The Buck Starts Here, protecting yourself from the IRS. And Jane Fonda talks about the new campaign she's launching to foster sex education. That's news for this half hour. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a good day. This is Thursday, October 2nd. In the news this morning, an emotional reunion for a mother who took the law into her own hands. Sarah Ferguson on life without Princess Diana. And the 21-year-old who signed the biggest contract in the history of sports.
From ABC, this is World News This Morning. Here's Asha Blake.
It's Thursday morning. Thanks for being with us on this day. In California, a dramatic story of vigilante justice ends with freedom and a public apology from a convicted killer. In Jamestown, east of San Francisco, Ellie Nessler was reunited with her children after serving a 4-year sentence for the courtroom slaying of Daniel Driver, who was accused of molesting her son. Earlier in the day, she made a plea bargain to win her release. Jim Weeder of KGO-TV has the story.
45-year-old Ellie Star Nessler spent...
In Pearl, Mississippi, there was a candlelight vigil last night to remember 3 people killed in a bloody rampage. A student at the school is accused of opening fire on his classmates after killing his mother. Here's ABC's Steve Osunsami.
Parents rushed to the high school.
In Jackson Township, New Jersey, it is being called a double tragedy. A 15-year-old is charged with sexually abusing and strangling an 11-year-old boy. Edward Werner was selling candy door-to-door for a school fundraiser. Police say he went to the suspect's door and that the teenager wanted the boy's money. The Army's top enlisted man is 1 step away from going to trial on sexual misconduct charges. A reviewing officer says Sergeant Major of the Army Gene McKinney should be court-martialed. The general in charge of the Washington Military District will make the final decision. McKinney has denied all the allegations. And in other news, one of the people who knew Princess Diana best is speaking out about her loss. Sarah Ferguson, Diana's former sister-in-law, says she thinks Diana would be overwhelmed by the intensity of the public mourning over her death. Fergie gave her first interview since the crash to ABC's Diane Sawyer on last night's Primetime Live.
How are you? I don't know.
Sarah Ferguson speaking with ABC's Diane Sawyer on last night's Primetime Live. Right now, it's time to take a look at your weather forecast for today. The Northwest is in for another stormy day with heavy rain and gale force winds. Scattered showers in the southern Rockies and in the southern plains, but most of the country will be sunny and dry. Cooler than normal in the Northeast, but summer-like temperatures for those of you in the central U.S. Seasonable out west. That's the national forecast. Now let's take a look at the weather where you are. And welcome back. A new report finds corporate daycare enjoying a growth spurt. ABC's Juju Chang has more.
Good morning. A new study finds
It's Thursday, October 2nd, 1997. ABC News continues with Asha Blake.
And good morning once again. If you are just joining us, here are some of the stories that we're following today. Ellie Nessler, who shot and killed the man accused of molesting her son, is reunited with her family after serving 4 years in prison. Police in Mississippi say a 16-year-old who believed he had been wronged by an ex-girlfriend killed her and another student in a shooting spree at their high school. He's also accused of killing his mother. New federal rules will reportedly allow drivers to get passenger side airbags disconnected under certain circumstances, since they can injure children and small adults. And new research is causing doctors to rethink their advice for patients with breast cancer. The studies show radiation treatment can significantly improve chances for survival. Here's ABC's George Strait with that story.
If a woman has a mastectomy,
Paula Jones in the news today. She has a new law firm to handle her sexual harassment suit against President Clinton. Jones says she's comfortable with the Dallas-based firm because it's very willing to go to trial. Her previous lawyers withdrew after a disagreement over a proposed settlement. A conservative group in Virginia will raise money to pay Jones's legal fees. Well, here's a look at some of the events making news in the day ahead. President Clinton announces new food safety guidelines aimed at farmers and farm workers in the U.S. and abroad. Pope John Paul arrives in Rio de Janeiro. His 4-day visit includes an appearance at the church's World Meeting of Families and a huge open-air mass. Divers begin exploring the wreck of a ship that may have belonged to the notorious pirate Blackbeard. His ship sank off the coast in North Carolina back in 1718. And tonight on 2020 Thursday, it's a hidden epidemic. Dog attacks are on the rise. About 5 million people were bitten last year, and most of the victims were children. Bob Brown reports on what you can do.
The male pit bull apparently led the attack.
And you can see the full report on 2020 tonight at 10, 9 Central. And one more story for you. The White House flack has been sacked in a sense. White House spokesman Mike McCurry found a decorated paper bag when he got to the White House briefing room. So he put it on his head and told reporters that they would get their briefing from an anonymous source. Well, no one in the White House press corps has yet claimed responsibility for the bag gag, and I'm sure they probably won't either, Mike. Coming up, the Florida Marlins once again save the best for last. Sports from ESPN coming up on World News This Morning.